the red purple sugar leader is here. She plays very differently using a lot of events. Is it good? Well, let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. My name is Mobby, and today I'm going to be giving you my personal deck list for the sugar red purple leader that revolves around Don Quixote pirates. Make sure to like and subscribe, it really helps out the channel. I upload daily duels and deck profiles for different anime TCGs. Alright, so here is the leader, and this has been the second most difficult leader that I've had to build for this set for OP10. The other one was Trafalgar Law. So the way that I found this one to work is, of course, around 70-ish% of Don Quixote pirates, and the rest really good cards, as well as a lot of events, and I mean a lot. There's 18 in this deck, but it works with the leader. So let's go ahead and talk about it. And if you're watching this in the future, this is for OP10 and below. When this card gets a new support in another set, you know we're going to be covering it. But here we go. So it's a sugar from OP10, as mentioned, 5,000 power, and it's a red purple leader. So at the end of your turn, if you have a character with Don Quixote pirates on the field with 6,000 or more, you can set one of your Don as active. Now you can have a base power of 6,000. You can have a Don attached to a 5,000 character, for example, because at the end of your turn it will trigger as the 6,000. Then when the turn passes, they revert back down to their power where they were, so you can play it either way. Leaving the Don as active allows you to use a lot of your events, which is going to be used with this ability. Opponent's turn, once per turn. When you activate an event, you can set up to one of your Don as active. So if you use one Don, you can set one as active, and now you have yet another Don that you have ramped up, so you have more Don your following turn, but also that current turn you have another Don to use with more events, which is why we are running a lot of events in this deck. And there are other cards in this deck which allows you to, leave more Don as active, which, just continues to compound in synergy. So there you go. Okay, so we're going to go from 0 to 9 costs in this deck. So this is Gomu Gomu Gatling from OP03. This is a Water 7 Straw Hat, so it's not searchable in this deck. It is a 0 cost counter. Trash 1 card to give somebody 3,000 power. If you end up using this card, you can still ramp. Worst case scenario, you actually do want to use this as soon as possible. There are cards which you want to prioritize using to ramp up. But this one is, if you have to, it's okay. Pretty much if your opponent attacks you for like a 6,000 or 7,000 the first turn that they can, using this to go up 3,000 more to 8,000 isn't the worst. You're using 2 cards to do so, and you're going to be ramping up 1. So a lot of ramp leaders, usually you have to take some sort of cost anyway. For example, Robin from OP9, you have to trash a card from your hand in order to ramp 1 up. So it's kind of, you protect your life and you ramp up. So they're running 3 in here because there are a couple of 0 cost counters, but this is really good early game if you want to ramp up as soon as possible. Now, ramping up is really important the first 2 to 3 turns. Other than that, you don't really care about ramping, but if you can get the ability off anyway, it's good. But the fact that you want to ramp up early is amazing, which is why you're running these. Next up, we have our Searchers of the deck. This is Sugar from OP10. This is a 1/1/1 card, Don Quixote, so it's searchable by every card in the deck, including itself. So activate main, you can rest 1 Don and then this character. Look at the top 5 Don Quixote and add it to your hand. It could be a character or an event, and you can also search for itself. So going seconds, you'll be able to search this right away. However, if your opponent goes first, it's a little bit of iffy, right? Like I said, you wanted to use this, but if you go seconds and you use this, and then your opponent will swing into this character, you're gonna not be able to go high enough with the with the plus 3,000, making it a 4,000. So I think with this leader, you want to go first. Putting Sugar on the field is completely fine, etc. So there you go. So it's a good searching card. If your opponent can't get over it for some reason, then you get a lot of value. Next off, we have our new OP10 Searchers for the deck. This is a main encounter card. I do not forgive those who laugh at my family. 1 cost from OP10. It's searchable by the sugar, but not itself. So you can use it during your main, or you can use it during a counter, which is another really good card to use with your opponent's ability. So even if they, for example, attack into you and you have 1 Dawn left over, just search and then you get to ramp up. It's really good. So at the very beginning of the game, you want to see these Gomu Gomu Jet Gatlings and these cards here in order to ramp and just get a little bit of value. So this is a top 3. Grab any Don Quixote card except this and add it to your hand, and let's go to the bottom. It's a rare, however this one has no trigger, which is too bad, but that's because it has the versatility on using it on your main or counter. If you find 2 or 3 in your starting hand, you're good to go. You don't need to worry about any other cards in your hand. If you find these, you're good to go. We're running 3 because we have you're going to be seeing these quite often. You might even grab them from the trash. There is ways to do that here. That's why we're only ranked 3. It's more important that you have these other sort of what are they called, events from your deck that we'll talk about a bit. Now for the one of the 2Ks of the deck, this is Giola. In this deck, we're running 8 2Ks. I usually like to run 10, but because we have so many counters, they kind of replace them, but they're here just for a searching reason. So this is Giola from OP10. This is a 2/2/2. So when your opponent attacks once per turn, you can rest 2 Dons to rest a 4 cost. Honestly, it's not the worst ability. However, you do have to play it on the field, and it's not a like on play. It's when your opponent attacks. So yeah, late game you are going to have some stuff to raise up, but you might want to use it just for the 2K. It really depends. If you have like 5 or so different sorts of counter cards in your hand, you might as well throw this out because, you know, just so your opponent has to play around it just in case they have a 4 cost or less that's trying to attack. Really good against swarm decks. It's pretty niche, but it could work. All right, next off, we have the 10-layer Igloo. This is a new card from OP10. This is a Don Quixote Pirates card. So it's a 2-cost counter. So check it out, up to 1 of your leader or characters against 3,000, then give up to 1 of your opponent's leaders or characters negative 2,000. It's a really good effect. This is really good to use mid-game to late game. It's a card that will also, every single event that you activate once per turn will allow you to ramp up. So for example, you throw out the 10 layer, you activate it, then you can go ahead and just use these. And remember, during your opponent's turn, if they attack you once, you can use as many actions as you want. So essentially, you could defend for 3,000 plus, give a character or leader negative 2,000 to be completely fine, raise 1 up, then use the one that you just raised to activate this. You can use it in any order. So this deck is kind of, I don't want to say hard, but it's a little bit different piloting than usual. If you play Nami, it's kind of similar to that, where you have to chain the events exactly the way you want, and it's just going to get a little bit more difficult from here on out. But it's a really good card with the negative 2,000. Just remember that because that's really important for an upcoming card. And the trigger is really good. Up to a leader or character gains 1,000 power during the full turn. So if you get it early during a barrage of attacks, it might help you out. So running 4 of these, this is probably one of the best events in the deck for defense. Then there you go. Next off, we have Judgment of Hell from OP02. 2-cost counter, negative 1 Dawn as well. Give up to a total of 2 of your opponent's leaders or characters, negative 3,000 this turn. Amazing card. It has along the same lines of giving a character or leader negative 3,000. So essentially, if the best case scenario, you will negate an opponent's attack and then negate the upcoming attack of a leader or character. And it's also during this turn, which also applies to an upcoming card as well. It's a great card. It's a purple event which can be searched from the graveyard with a specific card in this deck. It's impel down and it cannot be searched, but otherwise it's a good ability. The trigger is whatever. If your opponent has 6 or more Dawns, they return 1. It's usually not going to go off the way you want. For example, if they attack you when they're at 8 or 10 Dawn, the -1 doesn't really matter at all. But if you can get it at that sweet spot of 6 or more, yeah, it works. But I wouldn't count on that. It's just here for the ability. You don't want to use this too early because you do want to ramp up on your own. This is a negative 1 Dawn as well as the costs for 2. But yeah, once again, it's good, but you want to wait until mid to late game to use this. Definitely not early. You don't want to use that negative Dawn. But we have 3 of these in here. Next off, we have another amazing defensive card. This is from OP07. Slow beam Foxy Pirate, so it's not searchable. It's a 2-cost counter, also negative 1 Dawn, so same cost as this, same suggestions, mid to late game only. but basically up to one of your leader or characters gains 2000 during the battle, but you have the very strong effect of resting up one of their characters, no restrictions. So if they have a 10 cost on the board, boom, you rest it. It's really good. Your opponent has to play around it if they know you're running this. So, and the trigger is also good, and a lot of these purple cards usually have this specific one, which is good. You ramp one up as active, which could really help out your leader ability if you can get the, you know, if you just need that extra one for some reason. This is such a good card. But yeah, once again, mid to late game. Now for the wild card of the deck, this is Gum Gum Fire Fist Pistol Red Hawk. This is from OP10 So this is a 2-cost Supernovas and Straw Hats. So give up to one of your leaders or characters 4,000 power. So there's a lot. Then you KO a 4,000 or less. Now, you're usually not KOing anything crazy with 4,000, except for maybe, I don't know, a rested searcher, a consistent searcher they have on the board, or maybe a small blocker on the field. But if you remember, we have 7 cards in this deck that lower cost by 2,000 or 3,000 during the turn. So essentially you can KO a 6,000 character or 7,000 character if you use it in conjunction with these cards, because you can use them in different orders. So late game, mid game, if you have the Dawn, and you know, when you are raising Dawn here, yeah, you get 1 back as active, but there's another card in the deck that lets you have 2 more as well active. So you're usually going to have 3 late game, mid game to late game. You're going to have 3 active Dawn, and that's without even leaving Dawn anyway for you to activate at the end of your turn instead of attaching them to attack. So essentially you can be like, okay, you can protect against an attack, and you can lower somebody, and then you can KO somebody. It's really crazy and cool. We're only running 2 of these for a little bit of that tech fun, but honestly, if you can combo that, it's really good. Otherwise, it's a decent counter. The trigger is give up to one of your opponents or leaders negative 10,000 power during this turn. Is that 10,000 or 1,000? Or did they mess up with that? I have no idea. Is that really 10,000? I'm gonna have to look at that again. But anyway, yes, it's a really good card for the ability. Once again, it combos. These 2 cards combo with 7 other cards. So those are all of your events of the deck. There's a lot. There's 18, and it's up to you to decide your ratios, etc. But it's a very interesting leader. Let's go on with some more characters. This is Sanji from a new card from OP10. This is 331. When this is your turn, this character gains 3,000. So you drop it for 3. Next turn, it's 6,000 to attack. It's pretty cheap for a 3. Then on KO, you draw a card, so you get value. So pretty much, if you attack, you get value. If your opponent attacks into it, it's basically a pseudo blocker, and you get a card. It's also a counter for really into really strong card. Really good card for OP10, and you're gonna be seeing these used a lot in a lot of other red decks. However, it's not searchable. And that's pretty much it. It's just not a very searchable card, but it's good. And so this is really good early game. This is pretty much your only early game card you want to play. Your first turn, you want to play the Sugars, and you want to play these Gomu Gomu Jets, and the I Do Not Forgive those, and then this, and then these. But then other than that, yeah, we have Baby 5, which is the other 2K of the deck. So this is from OP10. 312 on play, trash 1 card, and then you can go ahead and ramp 1 Dawn if you have a Don Quixote Pirates leader. I mean, if you're playing against a really slow deck and you didn't draw Sanjis and you don't have any other good plays, sure, you can throw this out to trash a card to ramp up 1. The only bad thing is you're losing a 2K and you're not really getting any board value with this character, so I don't recommend it, but it's a searchable card, and if you really need that early game ramp and you assume they're also going to be playing it slow, then okay, throw it out. But otherwise, it's just a 2K for the most part, and these are our 8 2Ks for the deck. Now we're running for all of the cards that are going to help you win mid to late. So this is the first one with Senor Pink. This is a new card from OP10, another Don Quixote Pirates, very searchable. 5 costs, 6,000, 0 counter. On play, you can remove 1 Dawn, then you grab 1 purple event with 5 or less from your trash to your hand. So anything that's not red, of course, which is the Igloo and the Red Hawk, you can grab, you can grab these ones. You can grab the 0 cost ones. Just you can grab any other purple. It's really good. Then you set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. So if you go first, this character is going to allow you to have 2 Dawn at the end of your turn. You go ahead and play this, and you get an event, and you set 1 Dawn as active after removing a Dawn. So you keep the same amount of Dawn. However, it's an active one, and then your leader ability will go off because this is a base 6000 leader. So you're gonna have 2 Dawn ready to go to use a lot of abilities. So a really good card to play. But probably the best card of your deck is gonna be this one right here. This is Don Quixote Rocinante. This is OP10 561. On play, you can trash 1 event to draw 2 cards. You usually always want to do this. You are running 18 events. You want to do this. Then at the end of your turn, if you have 7 or more Dawn cards on the field, you set up 2 back as active. So it's amazing. This is not ramping ability. This is putting 2 rested up, right? However, you're usually not able to do this the turn that you throw it out, but that's okay. Just the turn after. This is gonna make it so you're gonna have 3 Dawn ready. With this, 1 here and 2 here once you have the 7 Dawn, and now you're gonna be able to have a lot of ammo for a lot of your opponent's effects. If you go with just the base of these 3 going up, you use a 2-cost counter from your hand, then you ramp 1 back up with the ability, then you have 2 again to use something else. And one of the cool combos you have the Judgment, which lowers somebody by 3000. Then you Red Hawk again to lower somebody again, which is really cool, and KO somebody. Amazing. And this is not even taking into the account of having multiple Don Quixote Rocinantes. If you have 2, you are setting 4 up here and 1 here, making it so you have a lot of defense. So one of the best cards in the deck, allows you to get more cards in your hand and have Don ready to go. Now, late game, what do you want to do? Well, you want to throw out this Don Quixote Doflamingo, another new card from OP10. 890 on play, remove 1 Dawn, which doesn't really matter when you're this high. Then you play up to a Don Quixote Pirate, 5 or less from your hand. As you can already see the combo, you play Don Quixote Doflamingo with this Rocinante. It's the best one. However, if you really need to, you can just play this in your pinks as well. But yeah, the best ones to play is going to be the Doflamingo into the Rocinante. These are some really, really powerful combos to play together. Now, the other effect here is on your opponent's attack, once per turn, you can rest a Dawn, then add 1 from your deck and rest it. So this effect is a little niche. It only works really well, like amazing value, if you are below the threshold of like 7, if you are at 7 or lower Dawn, which at this point, yeah, you will be at 7 Dawn if you just play this exactly at 8. You're going to have 1 Dawn up as active no matter what, because this is a 6000 plus. Then you can rest 1. When your opponent attacks, you rest. Then you activate. So next turn you have 10. And then you have that 1 extra Dawn to do whatever. So you get more benefits if you're lower than 8, but you know, it's still a good card regardless, because it summons somebody, gives you a cool body for the next board. Your opponent has something to think about. Now, for the final card of the deck, it's going to be Monkey D. Luffy. This is from OP09. This is not searchable at all in this deck, but you do need some late game stuff, and a rush card is pretty good. So this is a 10,000 0-cost counter. On play, you can return 1 or more Dawn from your field to your deck. From your field to your Dawn deck, which at 9 Dawn, once again, doesn't matter. You just return 1 back. You then get to draw 1 card, which is awesome. You get more card advantage. Then this character gains rush. You can use it to, you know, do a really good, amazing surprise attack. Maybe even finish the game if you don't have anything on the board. So that is the deck. And honestly, when first looking at the leader, everyone was a little sad that they didn't, like, Sugar didn't get a really cool, amazing, specific card just for her. She got that rushing bear one, but that's a common 3 cost. It's whatever. So there's a lot of really good supplementary ones. You know, there's 9 other sets, or 10 sets, I guess, if you want to count EB01 before, that has really cool purple and red cards that work with this leader. So we're gonna do a lot more testing, but honestly, this deck could work. You just gotta know what to get, what to play, and it's like Nami, right? You have to draw the right cards at the right time to get the most value. You can say that about any deck, but this one is really, really, you know, it's really more in particular, because if you don't get any events, you're a little screwed here. But yeah, it's a really interesting deck, and I'm glad it's here because it really changes up the way that you play the deck. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.